mga gumagawa nito.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Your Honors. If I may, I'd like to read the brief statement that I prepared for this committee hearing. But first, I'd like to relay the apologies of our Secretary, Martin Landanar, for not being able to attend because of a prior engagement. Madam Chair, Your Honors, concerns about fake news, or false information are not something new. In fact, Article 154 of the Revised Penal Code of 1930 and Presidential Decree Number 90 of 1973 both penalize false information and the publication or otherwise propagation or proliferation of which. With the advent of technology, where information spreads like wildfire in a matter of seconds, the problem on fake news has reached alarming proportions and on a global scale. It is not something that is endemic or unique to us in the Philippines. The phenomenon has grown directly proportionate to advancements in information technology. Even the most powerful and holiest people on earth are not spared from this new age scourge. Now the question is, how do we deal with it? Should we just shrug the problem off like ordinary chismes or rumors that we should allow to pass for being nothing of value? To ignore them when our names are maligned to the point of dishonor and when our reputation is besmirched beyond repair? Or should we fight it by criminalizing such acts as spreading fake news? If we so decide to deal with the problem head on, the next question that comes to mind is, in what way? To arrive at the most intelligent answers to these questions, the first and the most important thing to do is to find a legal definition for fake news. Some may even argue that what could appear as fake news to some may not be fake news to others. Ergo, the need to clearly define fake news, determine its parameters, before we could even talk of penalizing those who would create and or spread them. There should be clearly established and identifiable elements in spotting fake news. For starters, we can argue that fake news is, open quote, the unscrupulous and malicious propagation of information that aims to deliberately mislead or misinform a targeted audience or tend to cause panic, division, chaos, violence, and hate among the general public when the source or author commits reckless disregard of the truth or even factual details about a particular issue of interest. But defining fake news, spotting them, or penalizing those acts are easier said than done, considering our democratic environment. Thus, the need for a carefully studied, well thought of, and generally accepted measure to discourage people from committing what would eventually be considered an unlawful act. For instance, if we are to construe false or erroneous or even mistaken news stories, ito po yung mga kuryente, as unlawfully fake, to include biased opinions or substandard professional views, then we are facing an even greater problem. We must remember that in Article 3, Section 4 of the Constitution, our tendencies to exaggerate or project one-sided opinion or even lie at times are protected rights in the form of free speech and expression. And the Charter forbids passage of any law that will abridge these freedoms. Another point, in fact, is the difficulty in identifying the publishers of websites or web pages that are involved in propagating fake news. In fact, anybody who is computer literate in all age groups may be capable of altering data and information, or even news that are legitimately published by recognized news organizations. Who will identify them or go after them? And once they are identified, isn't it very easy to shut down the site and create a new one instead? The sadder part is that we cannot stop people from sharing fake news, even after they have been determined to be fake. Therefore, public education is a must. We may, for the sake of argument, agree to impose a ban on fake news. But then again, we have to find a highly credible and competent body to do the job. Should we, the executive, do it? Considering the ramifications of such, we would readily reject the thought. For we are not in the business of regulating the flow of ideas unless we are explicitly allowed to do so under the circumstances that we strongly doubt. So, should there be a need to put up such a body, it should be well represented by all stakeholders, probably a commission on freedom of sorts. Since the problem on fake news has an enormous impact on all of us, the solution requires a multi-sectoral and multidisciplinary approach with public education on eradication of fake news as the centerpiece of the engagement. We may adopt ideas such as engaging various social media platform operators and the like. But social media literacy could provide the key to solving it. We have to adopt and embark on such a program, if only to educate the public on the more productive uses of social media and the consequences of using these platforms in carrying out a sinister plan. Your Honors, along with this statement, we are submitting our position paper on these pending measures. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tama ka doon. Hindi natin pwedeng hindi natin ma-stop yung mga tao na maglaganap ng mga fake news. Pero pwede nating ipasarado yung website nila, but mayroon na bang na-persecute sa mga vloggers o website na nag-operate naglabas ng mga fake news? Mayroon na ba tayong na-prosecute?
Can I reply to that? Can I reply to that, Madam Chair?
Yes,
Yes, I had one blogger convicted of libel because of malicious, false allegation, which besmirches my honor. I had him convicted of libel. He is on appeal. So,
All right.
there is a remedy available for this fake news because the libel laws are there. If we feel that this is a fake news and it maligns us, avail of the libel, law, because any form of constraint on free speech can be a slippery slope. That is what we should remember. Hindi po, bakit hindi natin hulihin ito? Hindi po pwede. This is a democratic system. This is life that we have to live with. And so,
perhaps what Senator Pacquiao means is that hulihin pagkatapos pailan ng kaso at na-convict.
yeah, okay.
Yes.
Thank
But,
you.
I just wanted to reply that I
Yes.
have availed. of
Perhaps the
remedy.
answer can be given also by NBI. How many, in answer to Senator Pacquiao's question, how many cyber crimes cases have you had, and how many have been filed?
Yes, good morning, Your Honors. For 2016, we filed in all 48 cases, but there is no distinction as to whether this is cyber libel. This is for general violation.
All types of
cybercrime.
all
Yes,
types
Your
of
Honor.
cyber crimes.
Yes, Your Honor. For January to September 30 of this year, we already filed 99 cases, Your Honor.
99 cases. Okay, but how many complaints have you had in 2016? How many
For
complaints of cyber crimes?
2016, we received, Your Honor, 2,279. We terminated
Libo.
160 cases.
Okay,
because,
2,279. And then in 2017,
For 2017, we received 1,515 cases, Your Honor.
all right, thank you. Senator Pacquiao, yes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A follow-up question. Okay, go ahead. You want to say something?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think the problem is this, fake news as a term is being used as generic, So, yun po yung problema natin ngayon. So, we can even accuse any one of us here, each other, of committing fake news because we have no clear or legal definition of fake news so far. So, it's like, that's why the argument on EJK is taking very long time because nasabi lang, wala naman EJK. Because parang ganito po yun, naging media jargon siya. Sinabi lahat, pagka nasaktan, nagalit, fake news yan. So what I may be even accused of spreading fake news myself or anyone who was here in the absence of that legal definition of what fake news is. And once we have identified what fake news is by determining its elements like malice, siguro, publication, ano pa ba yan? Yung reckless disregard of the truth. Ang problema po kasi dito, pag sinadya kasi yung news, kinuha ko yung news na totoo, alam kong totoo, tapos para sirahin si Senator Pacquiao, iniba-iba ko yung laman niya at saka ako pinablish. So, that would classify as fake news. But yung simpleng chismis po, I think, mga deniable especially stories that the following day nag-i-issue ng erratum mga ating mga dyaryo, for instance. So, ang hirap pong i-determine. So, we really have to first define the legal parameters of what fake news is, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Pacquiao has the floor.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to make a quick follow-up to the point raised by the USEC. With the permission of Senator Manny, of course, Mr. Chair.
Just 1 minute.
The chair recognizes Senator Ontiveros.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will take less than 1 minute. Hindi pa ako magtatanong ng mga tanong ko sa ngayon. Gusto ko lang pong klaruhin na actually may ideya na po ang gobyerno kung ano ang fake news. Hindi pa man ito nasa batas. Kasi ang gobyerno natin ang nag-host ng roundtable discussion on countering fake news and communicating the right information, kung saan si Sec Andanar mismo ay umupo bilang chair ng ASEAN ministers responsible for information. So, hindi po pwedeng sabihin, Mr. Chair, na wala pa tayong ideya. Alam na po ng gobyerno kung ano ang fake news in essence. Salamat, Mr. Chair, at salamat, Senator Manny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's what...
Go ahead, Senator Pacquiao.
Can you explain it, Senator? Please explain.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Senator, yes, I think what the Undersecretary was saying here is that for the body or for the Senate to define what fake news really is in order for us to move on with other matters. And we acknowledge, ma'am, that yes, the Secretary Andanar, chaired the AMRI last September 9 for the ASEAN ministers responsible for information. And we were there during that forum, and it was just a forum, but it was not a forum to define fake news for it to become a law that would be penalized by our government.
All right. Senator Pacquiao. By the way, we'd like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Joel Villanueva and Senator Ontiveros.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, if I may add something to...
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, for Senator Ontiveros. Yes, we were there during the roundtable discussion. And that discussion, for your information, Your Honor, was a gathering of media personalities from ASEAN and Japan. So they gathered there to tell their own stories about Facebook and to tell the body to formulate a regional approach in combating fake news. So one of the most important decision that where they arrived at, yung pong binanggit ko kanina, yung media literacy. So it was suggested there by the representatives that we should go down to the grassroots level all around the country. Yes, and it's all part of our position paper, ma'am.
Thank you. Tama naman yung sabi ni Rizal de Veros na malalaman din natin yung kung ano yung fake news. Like recently, yung wife ko lumabas na patay na daw. Tapos ang daming nagtawagan sa cellphone ko. Anong nangyari? Dito sa Pilipinas, sa Amerika, maraming puno ng tawag dahil lumabas sa news na yung asawa ko raw namatay na. So ang ang ano natin doon is gusto kong malaman kung may data na ba tayo na how many website, bloggers or pages that's spreading this fake news.
Yes, Senator Pacquiao. Sir, we don't have the data on that because perhaps it's not within our mandate or jurisdiction to monitor websites that are bogus or legal. Sir, may I take this opportunity, Ma'am Chair, Sir Senator, and members of this committee, may I take this opportunity to give 3 points on the stand of PCO on the fake news. First is to have a definition of what fake news is. And second, we formally suggest that a massive media and information literacy campaign would be implemented throughout the country with whatever ways this body would like it to be implemented, but we are doing it on our end. On the side of the Presidential Communications Office, we are reaching out to local government units, local communicators, private and public, in order to campaign on self-regulation, on how to self-regulate themselves in so far as the hyper-digital and social media is nowadays. And of course, we'd like also to take note on the position of Senator Pangilinan on possible amendment on the Cybercrime Act, perhaps to look into the Cybercrime Act, which may not limit the persons who first published the fake story, but it would extend to those who would maliciously share the fake news. That's all, Your Honor.
Senator Manny, perhaps you can also ask the NBI Cybercrime Group. They're the ones that are supposed to monitor also these things. PCO is more on public information and the dissemination of hopefully accurate information.
Yes, to NBI, kung minomonitor ba nila itong mga fake news, anong action nila, anong action ang ginawa ninyo para dito sa mga fake news, mga vloggers na website na palaging naglalabas ng mga hindi totoong balita. Anong action nyo dito na paano nyo minomonitor ang mga fake news na ito?
Yes, Your Honor. Actually, when it comes to social media platforms spreading fake news, wala hong government agency that monitors the same. But we are acting on complaints referred to our office. Meaning, we are only acting on cases referred to us. But for me or for our office, the fake news, if it will result to libel and other cases, it will be actionable by the office. Otherwise, we cannot act on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mga katanungan ko doon sa yung nagpataas ng buhok ko sa likod, nang nagpaputi ng buhok ko, yung si Kukoy Dayaw.
Madam Chair, may I have the floor, please?
Asset Moka.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I would like to thank your office for inviting me today at this Senate hearing as a resource person. Dahil po, biktima rin po ako ng fake news. Hindi pa po ako na-appoint bilang opisyal ng gobyerno. Naglabas na po itong ABS-CBN na ako daw ay na-appoint bilang customs consultant. At dahil po doon, ako po ay na-bash online. At ito rin pong anonymous Facebook page na Madam Claudia na di umano ay hawak din nitong Kukoy Dayaw ay nagpalabas po ng pekeng cheque na ibinayad daw po sa akin ni BBM na hindi naman po totoo dahil ang nakalagay pong pangalan doon ay Margo Uson at hindi ko po kompletong pangalan yon. At isa pa po, kadalasan po nagpapakalat din ng fake news ay ang ating ilang mainstream media. Katulad po dyan ng GMA na rin, Nung sinamahan ko si Pangulong Duterte doon, sinabi po ng GMA na ako daw po ay nag-selfie sa loob ng Grand Mosque sa Marawi na naka-boots. Hindi naman po ako nag-selfie doon. At dahil po doon, nabash po ako ng ating mga kababayan at humingi naman po ako ng paumanhin sa ating mga kapatid na Muslim. Ngunit yun po ang mga halimbawa ng mga fake news. Kaya po, andito po ako para suportahan po itong hearing na ito dahil po ako po ay biktima ng fake news. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, Asek Mocha, salamat sa iyong manifestation. At least alam mo ang nararamdaman ng isang nabibiktima. Diba? So, napapahalagahan natin dito ang importansya nito. At alam ko na nababash dito ang mainstream news. Ang mainstream news ay meron din function. Kayo siguro yung, kung fourth estate sila, kayo yung fifth na nagbabantay sa kanila. Checks and balances. Walang perpekto dito. May nag-text din sa akin na sinabi ko daw kanina na fake news is in the eye of the beholder. That's not exactly what I meant. Fake news is fake news. What I'm trying to say is this. It's in the eye of the beholder because sometimes we choose to believe certain things without vetting it. That's why we look at it with colored lenses. Ang nangyayari dito, tinitignan natin kung pula ang ating pananaw o dilaw ang ating pananaw, hindi natin iniisip na kung sasabihin natin saan galing ang news na yan, imbis na tama ba ang news na yan. So it doesn't matter if, let's say, a yellow, well, I won't call it, an LP supporter will post something if it's factual. Let's learn from it. Or if somebody that is a supporter of the president and the administration, for as long as it is factual. The problem is if we see it through colored lenses and we leave it at that. So that is a correction. I did not say that it is right because it is something that we believe in. We need to vet it. And for the mainstream media, it is also your chance now to answer what our bloggers are saying. Hindi natin minamaliit ang trabaho ninyo. Kaya lang, yung focus kasi ngayon ay dito nga sa fake news natin ngayon na nakikita sa internet. So, go ahead, ma'am. Do you have any more to add?
Yes, Madam Chair. And also po, maganda po na na-expose po ni RJ, aka Thinking Pinoy, yung di umanong tao sa likod nitong napakaraming anonymous na anti-Duterte FB pages na nagpapakalat po ng fake news na nabiktima po ang 7 senators po na sinabihang 7 deadly sins na wala namang pong katotohanan na sila ay inalok na pumirma. Kaya po, andito po ako para suportahan yan. Alamin po yung mga nagpapakalat talaga po ng fake news. At dapat po ay magkaroon ng accountability. May mukha po dapat itong mga vloggers na ito sa Facebook po.
Tama. Dun sa sinabi mo, hindi lahat sumasang-ayon sa sinasabi mo. Ako minsan, hindi rin sumasang-ayon sa sinasabi mo. Pero at least, nandyan ang mukha mo, nandyan ang pangalan mo. Ganon din sa ibang mga kasama natin dito. Si Franco, si Mr. Nieto, nandito rin si Mr. Quezon, si Abby, nandito rin si Mr. Lacerda. Nilalabas ninyo ang mukha ninyo. Hindi katulad nitong isang hinahabol natin na ang lakas-lakas ng loob magsalita, hindi naman nagpapakita dito. So we need accountability because the mainstream media have to answer to their bosses. They have an internal ombudsman group. They can get fired from their jobs if they don't do their research properly. Whereas the bloggers, of course, this is the new media now. You're accountable to yourselves. Of course, Asek Mocha, you are now part of the government. So the responsibility on your shoulders is even more.
Yes, Madam.
So because, like I noticed, Attorney Angeles here is a digital influencer of the PCOO. What exactly does a digital influencer mean? Does it mean that you will influence based on what the administration wants or based on what the truth is?
Good morning, Senator Paul. Good morning, Senators. The term digital influencer, you might need a short history. The term digital influencer actually comes from the social media phenomena. During the last election, several groups of what they call social media influencers were contracted to assist in the last elections. These groups, they hire several people with several social media accounts. The most glaring example of this would be Twitter. So on Twitter, you have several people with accounts that have followers, sometimes in the hundreds of thousands. So if they all Twitter at the same time, use a particular hashtag, you can cause a trend. And that trend will show up at the side panel of your Twitter page. And you will see that so many people have been responding or have been tweeting about a particular event, a particular person, or a particular subject matter. During elections, this becomes vital. These social media influencers are hired by some candidates or people handling candidates, and they cause a trend. And these trends are considered influential, possibly in changing the minds of certain people, particularly during election time. It's a little more difficult on Facebook, but there's still their counterpart
So
groups.
ma'am, my question is,
Yes.
what is your job description now in PCOO?
Actually, what we do is we assist ASEC MOCA, among other things, in dealing with their social media account and in
What is the goal?
the goal
What are
really
you trying to
is
do?
to make
What are you
sure.
trying to influence people with?
Well, it's not really actually my real title is social media strategist. I would like to correct this one. However, the term social media influencer, that isn't me. That would be ASEC MOCA.
So if you're a strategist, what is the goal of PCOO?
The goal of PCOO is to give out government information. So things like the passing of certain laws which are necessary for us to disseminate. For example, today, the release of the postponement of barangay elections.
Oh, those are
So,
important.
yes.
Now, of course, sometimes, and you are very opinionated, all of you there, that's why you're in that office, and you also have a lot of following, but we should sometimes also distinguish between political information and also an actual government policy. So these things, maybe within your group, I trust that Secretary Martin is also policing. Sometimes yung pabugso ng damdamin, lumalabas dun sa ating and we need to just check. Yun lamang. And you have your reputation also to protect, to remain objective. So that's very important.
Yes, there's no question about that, but we also have to acknowledge that the times are changing. For example, government information sometimes needs to be put out there, and the best people sometimes to put them out there are social media people with lots of followings. If ASEC MOCA puts out a bit of information, you know that about 5 million people are going to see that.
And that's why there's more responsibility resting on you.
Yes, Madam
because you have 5 million people and even more with the multiplier effect of these people na magkukwento sa iba. So talagang tinitingala ka ng mga taong ito. Maganda rin sigurong pagkakataon na pagbuklod-buklod, imbis na paghiwalay-hiwalay. Pero naintindihan ko, kasi lahat kayo, first year pa lang ninyo sa office, tinitira na kayo eh. So, defensive mode. But remember, our mandate is to be loyal to the common good, to the people. Okay, Senator Manny, I'm sorry to have interrupted your time.
Okay, Madam Chair, ipagpaliban ko na muna yung pagtatanong ko dahil yung mga tanong ko doon sa kay Kukoy Dayaw. Ha? Hindi, kasama na yun. Suntok at saka tanong.
De, alam naman natin mapagtimpi si Senator Pacquiao. So, ang susunod na nasa listahan natin.
Madam Chair, with the permission from Senator Pangilian, before we move, kasi nabanggit ni Ms. Angela, Senator, are you an ASEC, JO, consultant? So what's your item?
I think it would be akin to consultant, to contracted service.
Okay. But you mentioned kasi parang digital influencers were hired during the previous election. So among the influencers present here, sino sa inyo mga na-hire during the previous elections?
If I may, for the most part, when the digital influencers were being hired, part of the agreement is confidentiality. So I'm not sure if anybody would be willing to admit to this. Ako, I can say I wasn't. So I'm not sure if anybody else was here, though I understand that the contractual obligation would be, in part, confidentiality.
So can we hear from the other influencers?
Sorry. Hi, I'm Franco. Are you asking during the election season? 100,000% no. I was not paid.